Hi guys, I am excited to film and bring to you today what I believe is my absolute favorite video of the year. I'm going to be sharing some great autumn book recommendations, and the reason this is probably my favorite is because I really like books that tend to lean towards autumn reading. I kind of like things to have a little bit more of a darker side, and I like books with a lot of mystery and suspense, and so that's what I'm bringing you today. I don't usually do this, but I thought ahead today and I have put this into 4 different categories. First, I'm going to share the classics that I think would be good for this season. Then I'm going to be sharing the YA books that I think will be good for this season. Then I've got the mystery suspense books, and some like sci-fi slash feels like sci-fi are my last ones. I got this sweater thrifting the other day, and this is like the perfect autumn sweater. It gets me like totally feeling cozy, and it's got these great buttons. I'm kind of obsessed with it, and it was only a couple dollars at the thrift store, so that's even better. Okay, on to the books. So the first one I actually don't even have with me. I don't own a copy, and it is my goal this fall to find a copy, probably used, probably from the thrift store, and if not, I'm actually going to buy a new copy, and that is Shirley Jackson's short stories. So I have not read all of her short stories, but I can highly recommend the ones that I have read. If you've never read any of her stories, most people, if they have, they've read The Lottery. Her stories kind of all seem kind of normal, but then have some kind of twist at the end. I think it's kind of like gothic horror is supposed to be what her genre is, which I don't think I would normally say is my like sweet spot or anything, but I have really enjoyed the stories I've read. I like that I never know where her stories are going, and yeah, so I read The Lottery back in high school. I read a couple of short stories last year at this time, and this year I am hoping to read a ton of them. Like I said, I'm just hoping to find a book, and if I can't find one used, I'm just going to be buying a new one. Highly recommend that. Any of her short stories. And I haven't read this one, but We Have Always Lived in the Castle. We have something about that. That book I meant to put on my autumn TBR and totally forgot, but it is in my mental autumn TBR because I've heard really good things and feel like that has the same vibes as her short stories, so I think I'm going to like that one as well. Today I'm drinking my Wild Berry Zinger, the one and only tea that I have yet to find that I like, but oh well, I'll just drink the one I like. Okay, now moving on to my physical books, but sticking with classics. I just started this book, and that is Father Brown, The Essential Tales. So Father Brown is a priest, a clergyman, and he reminds me a lot of Miss Marple from Agatha Christie's books. So I've only actually read the first story so far, and to be honest, I was very confused as I was reading it, and I was hoping to put it on this recommendation list, but I'm like, I don't know if I can. And then all of a sudden at the end, it all came together. The stories in here are about 20 pages long for the most part, and the first story that I read, I was like, oh, that is so fun. I had no idea where he was bringing me here, but I really like how it turned out, and I've heard really good things. My brother borrowed this book pretty much as soon as I bought it and had been borrowing it, and he really enjoyed them and thinks I would like them. So when I think of like mystery short stories, I think kind of like of Sherlock, and so I feel like Father Brown is going to have some of those same vibes. So yeah, so far from what I've read, I recommend this one. Okay, and next up, if you guys have watched my autumn recommendations video from last year, I'm intentionally not including any of those books on this list. My hope is for every autumn to have a completely new set of books, because this is my favorite genre type of mood to read. So I feel like I should be able to come up with enough books for, you know, like their own video without having to pull from years before. But I have a couple little cheats here, because last year I shared Anne of Green Gables, and this year I'm going to share Anne of Avonlea. And the reason behind this is because so many people have read the first book in the series, but not many people have continued on. And I just finished book 3, which is Anne of the Island. Was that last night or the night before? And you guys, these books are like, they just get better. I really enjoyed Anne of Green Gables, but I feel like the second and third books have just gotten better, and so I want to encourage as many people to read them as possible. I feel like based on my book tastes, I really shouldn't like Anne, the whole Anne series. There's a lot of description and stuff, but at the same time, I just love it. It kind of does remind me of Wuthering Heights, which I enjoyed for the descriptions of the moors, and I feel like the way Ella Montgomery describes the island and all sorts of different places that Anne goes, and then the people that she encounters, Ella Montgomery has done such a good job with that, that the series so far just gets better and better. So if you've read Anne of Green Gables, make this the year that you continue the series, please. Okay, so that's all for classics, kind of. There's one coming up that maybe could be considered a classic, maybe could be considered not. So we'll leave it for its own genre. So I've got 2 YA books, and I don't read a ton of YA, and I feel like I'm very picky with YA. Either it's done well and I like it, or else it's just meh and I don't like it. But I've got 2 here. So this one I read quite a few years ago. This is The Goose Girl. This is a retake on, The Goose Girl is actually a very short story. I think it's a Grimm's fairy tale, if I remember correctly. And I read this book a number of years ago and really enjoyed it. It is part of, I think, a 3 or 4 book series that I haven't continued on at this point. I would like to. But in this, we follow a girl, I forget her full name, Annie Dory Kiladria Tilani Isley, Crown Princess of Killindree. So she is supposed to be going she's supposed to be going to get married in a foreign land, but she somehow, I don't want to give away too much, it happens fairly early. Things go down, let's say, on the way, and it doesn't end up quite that way, and she has to become someone that she's not. And I feel like, yeah, I just really enjoyed a lot of the story. I enjoyed her character, how she faced hard times, and I really like retakes on fairy tales. I think last year's autumn recommendations video, I had at least one in there that had a retake as well. Actually 2, I think. Yeah, so I enjoyed this, and I do hope to finish this series at some point. My other YA book is one that I read this year, and this is Incarceron. So this could be, it's YA and I guess steampunk. It is about, well, the whole thing is this prison is alive, and I feel like I can't adequately describe this book. It's a duology, and I still haven't read book 2. Yeah, it's on my to be read cart over here. Hopefully I can get to it at some point. But I found this one really interesting because it was kind of like steampunk, but yet not, because I think this time period had already passed, but it felt steampunky, and plus, judging from the cover, it just gives those vibes. So we follow 2 different people. We follow Claudia, her father is the warden of Incarceron, and we follow Finn. He's kind of like the rebel bad guy, and somehow Finn is actually in Incarceron, I think, and Claudia is supposed to be having this arranged marriage, and things go down, and I don't really even know how they end up because I haven't finished the series. But I think I was introduced to the series by Holly, and I know she has really enjoyed it and actually read both books. And so I feel like I want to, you know, inspire more people to try this series, even though I feel like it's really hard to explain. Okay, moving on, we are now in the mystery suspense side of things here. And this next book is the one that kind of could be considered a classic, but I'm throwing it in this category just for fun. And okay, this is maybe also another cheat, but I've got Agatha Christie's A Murder is Announced. The reason I'm calling it a cheat is because I had one of her books on my recommendations video from last year, and this is one that I think I've read in the last year and really enjoyed. So last year I shared my like ultimate favorite Agatha Christie, and I think this one is the runner-up for my like next favorite Agatha Christie. In this one, I really liked the introduction of this. I'm going to read just a snippet of the back because I feel like it really it tells a lot about the book. The villagers of Chipping Cleghorn are agog with curiosity when the Gazette advertises a murder is announced and will take place on Friday, October 29th at Little Paddocks at 6:30 p.m. So all of these nosy people in the neighborhood read this article and they all kind of, you know, make their way over here to see what is going on. They think it's like some kind of play or something. Turns out a murder actually happens and they need to solve it. And this is a Miss Marple book, and Miss Marple is my favorite. She's like kind of like undervalued. She's just a little old lady. She's not really in the books very much, but she always sees all the different little pieces and pulls them together. And yeah, I don't know. I really like the twists in this one. I am terrible at guessing Agatha Christie books. I did a video with my Patreon group back in the winter where I shared my thoughts as we went along and like shared who I thought it was. And it was always someone different because I never knew who it was or who it was going to be. And I think it would be fun to do another Agatha Christie reading vlog, maybe like this fall or winter, and do that again. And we can maybe do that together. That'd be kind of fun. So that Agatha Christie, highly recommend. Okay, and then I've got another author that I actually had on my other list as well. And this one is On the Cliffs of Foxglove Manor by Jamie Jo Wright. This is her newest book that came out this summer. And she writes dual timeline. The one timeline is generally early 1900s and modern day. This one I think was 1885. So we follow Adria Fontaine in 1885, and I think what happened is she tried to commit suicide and her father sent her away to Foxglove Manor, I think because she was a bit of an embarrassment to the family. But Foxglove isn't all that it seems. In present day we follow Kaylee Gibson, and she moves to Foxglove because it has now become like an old folks home, and she moves there with her autistic brother. And years prior to when she came to work here, she was at Foxglove because it was like a vacation home kind of thing. I think she was 5 years old and she was abducted for one day from Foxglove, I believe. Or around the time that she was at Foxglove, and there's just like a lot of mystery going on. I don't know how much to say because Jamie Jo Wright, the way she does it is she takes so many elements, so many little threads from both timelines, and eventually they intertwine, but I don't know how much to say without giving it all away. I feel like her writing reminds me a lot of Kate Morton, but her books are like, you know, like 200 pages shorter than Kate Morton's, which is what Kate Morton should do as well. And this one also, am I right? Oh yes, okay. So I've read almost all her books. I still have one on my cart that I haven't read. This one includes a ghost, and I say ghost because she's a Christian author, and you know it's not a ghost, but I'm always like, how can you explain this? How can this not be a ghost? And I try so hard to figure it out, and I never do. Yeah, so there's that one. My next one is one that I just read this month, and this is Relative Silence by Carrie Stewart Parks. This may be my favorite one of hers. I feel like every time I read a new one, I'm like, no, this one's my favorite. So in this one we followed, oh yeah, because like think cursed island with a family home, like a rich family home, and it takes place during a hurricane, pretty much, part of it, and a missing child, and there's so many things going on in this one. I had so much fun with it. Okay, so our main character is Piper Boone, and right in the first chapter or so, her 3-year-old daughter goes missing, and then we flash forward 15 years, and then she's in the middle of something else going on, and there seems to be a lot of tragedy following her and her family, and they own a huge mansion on this island, and there's only one other house on the island, so people call the entire island cursed. And they just, yeah, so there's this kind of like this family curse that seems to be following them, but it's not actually a curse. There's something actually going on, and I didn't see the ending of this coming, which I always like, so I would highly recommend this one. Obviously I'm going to recommend them all. They're on my recommendations list. Okay, And the last one for the mystery suspense category is Mind Games by Nancy Mel. This is the first book in the Kaylee Quinn Profiler series. So she goes by Kaylee Quinn, but her name used to be something else. Jessica something. Her father was actually arrested when she was a teenager, and he was found to be a serial killer. And now she is a profiler, FBI behavioral analyst. I just kind of stumbled all over that. And so she kind of like profiles, but I think they don't like that word, but whatever, the same idea. She profiles serial killers to try to catch them, and her past kind of comes to haunt her a bit. This is a trilogy, and I really enjoyed all of them. I feel like this one had elements that I can't say what the extra element is, because that kind of spoils it, but it really added something to the books. It's not your normal mystery suspense kind of book. Yeah, so I recommend this entire trilogy. And the last category we got going on here is like science fiction slash feels like science fiction. Okay, we'll start with this one. This is actually a middle grade book, and it's the only middle grade book on this stack. I guess when I think, you know, creepy autumn reads, I don't think middle grade, but I'm sure there probably is more. But anyway, I'm off track. This one is The Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This is currently, there's 3 books in the series. I've still only read the first one. But we follow 3 siblings whose names are, let's see if I can remember now, Chess, Emma, and Finn. And right in the beginning, they get home from school and they hear on the news that there are 3 kids missing whose names are the same as theirs. I think Chess is short for Rochester, and the kid goes by Rocky. And Emma and Finn, and they have the same birthdays as Chess, Emma, and Finn. So something strange is going on, and then their mom makes them go with this kind of like stranger to them, very not well-known person to them, and then she disappears, and kind of like things go down. And I had no idea when I was reading this book where this was going. I was very confused. And yeah, so I'll say it ends up being kind of like sci-fi-ish, which makes more sense than I was trying to be very logical. And I've heard good things about book 3, I think. Not such great things about book 2. But even if you just read book 1, I feel like this was very fascinating to me. So there's that one. And the last book on the list. I feel like I haven't talked about this one yet. This is another one I read this month. There's actually a few. This is Legion by Brandon Sanderson. So I do not know what this book is actually categorized as. Let me see. Does it actually say anything? It's like windy outside. I don't know what this is, but this is not a very well-known book, I feel like, on BookTube. I know a few people that have read it, like Becca, and really loved it, but I feel like not enough people are reading it. So we follow a guy named Stephen Leeds. This is actually a trilogy of like 3 short books in one, and I hope that Sanderson makes this into like a longer series. I could kind of see this being like the Murderbot Diaries, just a bunch of short little stories. Okay, so Stephen Leeds is a very smart, brilliant man, but he tries, it's like he can't deal with his own intelligence, so he has created personalities in his mind to kind of compartmentalize all his intelligence. So he has these like imaginary friends pretty much that he can see, and there's like the one has all the hacking smarts, and the one is like a bodyguard and knows all the smarts for different, wow, I'm obviously really good at this, I don't know, like personal defense and like fighting stuff, and then every time he kind of reads up on a new topic, he doesn't call them personalities, aspect, another aspect is kind of like formed. And yeah, so he's kind of like a private detective in here, or like a private investigator, but he solves the problems, the cases with his number of aspects. It's very confusing to try to explain, and it took me a while to like understand what was going on in here. But by the end, like, I was so attached to these aspects, and Sanderson pretty much had me tearing up, and maybe it was because I was listening to the audiobook while driving foster kids to and from visits, and maybe I was just extra emotional, I don't know. But like, I was definitely pretty much tearing up by the end. And in full Sanderson character, I guess, he has left it open where he could continue this into a series, and I really hope he does, because I had a lot of fun with this. So there you go. Those are my autumn reading recommendations. I sifted through a lot of books. There's a lot I didn't include that I like enjoyed and could have made this list, but I feel like these ones are a good diverse range of different kinds of genres, yet all being really good for the autumn season. And I will, hopefully my next video, will be announcing the Hey Reader-a-thon that will be taking place in October. I'm going to have like 4 or 5, probably like 4 prompts that we will use in that week to read a variety of books and just have fun. And yeah, so maybe you guys can use some of these books in that. Now, let me know some of your absolute favorite autumnal reads. And if you haven't yet, go check out my video from last year so you can get even more ideas. Thanks for watching, guys.